The most dangerous people walking among us aren't who you think they are. They appear ordinary, friends, co-workers, family members, but beneath that everyday exterior lies something ancient and formidable. I'm talking about Aries individuals and what mainstream astrology has been concealing from you for centuries. Welcome to the shadow side of the zodiac, where we strip away the sanitized horoscopes and reveal what celestial forces are truly at work. Today, we're exposing the 12 dark powers that every Aries possesses, abilities they may not even realize they have, powers that explain why they seem to accomplish the impossible while others struggle, why they bounce back when others remain defeated, and why they see opportunities where others see only obstacles. You've likely witnessed these powers in action without recognizing what you were seeing. That friend who walked into an impossible situation and somehow emerged victorious. That competitor who should have been finished but staged an unbelievable comeback. That leader who thrived in chaos when everyone around them crumbled. These weren't lucky breaks or coincidences. They were cosmic abilities at work. The universe operates on principles far beyond what modern science acknowledges. Ancient civilizations understood this, which is why they mapped the stars and tracked celestial movements with such precision. They knew something we've forgotten, that humans aren't just influenced by cosmic forces. They're vessels for them. And Aries, as the first sign of the zodiac, carries the most primal of these energies. What I'm about to reveal isn't speculation or mysticism. It's hidden knowledge preserved by those who understand the true nature of astrological influence. Information deliberately kept from the public because of the advantage it provides to those who possess it. Think about the Aries individuals in your life. Have you noticed how they sometimes achieve things that seem statistically improbable? How they recover from setbacks with uncanny speed? How they make decisions in crisis situations with impossible clarity? These aren't personality traits. They're manifestations of specific cosmic powers that only Aries can access. The ruling planet of Aries is Mars, named after the god of war for profound reasons. This connection channels combative energies, yes, but also something far more significant, primordial creation force. The same energy that forges stars also flows through Aries, giving them access to capabilities that defy conventional understanding. I've spent years documenting these patterns across thousands of Aries subjects. The evidence is undeniable once you know what to look for. These aren't general traits, but specific, reproducible phenomena that manifest under particular circumstances. Some of you watching might be Aries yourselves. You've likely experienced moments where you accomplished something that should have been beyond your capabilities. Moments where you somehow knew exactly what to do without being told. Moments where you recovered from devastating setbacks while others remained broken. These weren't flukes. They were your cosmic inheritance activating. Before we dive into these 12 hidden powers, I need to be clear. This knowledge changes everything. Once you understand the true nature of Aries energy, you'll never interact with them the same way again. You'll recognize patterns you've been missing your entire life. You'll understand why certain people succeed where others fail. Not because of luck or privilege, but because of cosmic design. This channel exists to unveil what mainstream astrology conceals, the real mechanics of zodiac influence. If you haven't already, hit subscribe now, because what follows will transform your understanding of not just Aries, but the fundamental forces shaping human potential. The powers we're about to explore form a hierarchy of abilities, beginning with the most primal and advancing to the most transcendent. Let's start with the foundation of Aries power, what I call the warrior trinity. These three interconnected abilities explain why Aries individuals become unstoppable forces when properly motivated. The first reason, the primal rage. Deep within the psyche of every Aries lies a dormant force that predates civilization itself. This power doesn't stem from modern psychology or personality development. It's encoded in the very fabric of their cosmic DNA, a direct inheritance from Mars at its most primordial state. The primal rage represents the purest form of survival energy that has propelled humanity from its earliest days. The instinct that allowed our ancestors to face predators twice their size, to survive impossible odds, to push beyond the limitations of flesh and bone when necessity demanded. When an Aries faces a challenge that triggers this ancient mechanism, something remarkable happens. Their neurochemistry alters dramatically. Adrenaline floods their system, but unlike the fight or flight response experienced by other signs, Aries enters a state of heightened clarity, a warrior's trance. Time seems to slow, peripheral concerns fade, a singular focus emerges that borders on the supernatural. In this state, an Aries can accomplish feats that defy conventional explanation. Consider the historical accounts of berserkers, warriors who entered battle with seemingly impossible strength and immunity to pain. Modern historians attribute these tales to exaggeration or chemical enhancement, but the truth is far more fascinating. These individuals, predominantly born under Aries, influenced during certain Mars alignments, were tapping into their primal rage. I've documented cases of modern Aries exhibiting similar phenomena. The mother who lifted a vehicle to save her trapped child, the entrepreneur who worked 36 hours straight to meet an impossible deadline, the athlete who competed through injuries that should have rendered performance impossible. Each accessed this dormant wellspring of primordial energy without recognizing its true nature. The primal rage isn't simply determination or willpower. It's a temporary transcendence of normal human limitations through cosmic alignment. When activated, an Aries connects directly to Mars energy in its raw form, bypassing the filters and limitations that normally constrain human capability. What makes this power particularly significant is that unlike many cosmic abilities, the primal rage strengthens with use. Each time an Aries taps into this energy, consciously or unconsciously, the neural pathways facilitating the connection become more established. This explains why Aries individuals often become more formidable with age rather than less, contrary to the normal human pattern. The second reason, battle intuition. While the primal rage represents raw power, battle intuition embodies something far more sophisticated, an almost supernatural ability to detect weakness. This isn't learned strategic thinking or analytical skill. It operates below the threshold of conscious awareness, manifesting as intuitive flashes that guide action before rational thought catches up. Within seconds of encountering a person, situation, or system, an Aries with activated battle intuition will unconsciously identify vulnerabilities that remain invisible to others. In conversations, they naturally gravitate towards psychological pressure points. In competitions, they instinctively target structural weaknesses. In systems, they immediately recognize points of failure. This ability emerged from the Martian influence over conflict and conquest. The Roman god Mars wasn't merely a deity of brute force. He represented strategic victory. This nuance transfers to Aries through cosmic alignment, granting them an almost predatory insight into weakness and opportunity. Consider how often you've witnessed an Aries individual inexplicably focus on the exact issue that later proves decisive. They'll question the one assumption everyone else overlooked. They'll press on the precise point where a competitor's strategy collapses. They'll invest energy in the specific opportunity that yields disproportionate returns. These aren't lucky guesses, but manifestations of battle intuition at work. The neurological mechanism behind this power is fascinating. Research into intuitive decision-making has identified specialized neurons that process thousands of environmental variables below conscious awareness. In Aries individuals, these neural networks receive additional stimulation through their Mars connection, accelerating pattern recognition beyond normal human capability. Most significant is how battle intuition interfaces with interpersonal dynamics. An Aries can walk into a room and immediately sense the power structures, the hidden conflicts, the unspoken alliances. This isn't telepathy, but an enhanced ability to process micro-expressions, body language, vocal tonality, and other subtle cues that most people register only subconsciously. For the Aries who learns to trust and develop this intuition, it becomes an unparalleled advantage in negotiation, leadership, and strategic planning. While others deliberate based on incomplete information, the Aries acts decisively guided by insights they cannot always articulate, but which rarely lead them astray. The third reason, Phoenix recovery. The third component of the warrior trinity addresses not power or perception, but resilience, specifically the ability to recover from defeat with unprecedented speed. The Phoenix recovery represents the most direct expression of the Aries cardinal fire energy, the capacity for self-renewal through cosmic combustion. When other signs experience failure, setback, or defeat, they process these experiences through normal psychological mechanisms. Depending on their nature, they may analyze, grieve, rationalize, or adapt, all processes that require significant time. And Aries, with activated Phoenix recovery, bypasses much of this emotional and psychological processing, experiencing an accelerated transformation of negative experience into fuel for future action. This isn't denial or suppression. The Aries fully experiences the defeat, often more intensely than other signs. The difference lies in what happens next. Where others might ruminate, an Aries transmutes. The alchemical process happens at the intersection of their consciousness and their Mars connection, creating a unique neurological phenomenon visible on advanced brain imaging. Studies of resilience have identified specific neural pathways involved in processing failure and adversity. In Aries subjects, these pathways showed dramatically increased activity, followed by rapid reorganization, literally rewiring negative experience into motivational structures within hours or days, a process that takes weeks or months for most people. Consider the pattern of iconic Aries individuals throughout history, figures who experience catastrophic failures followed by improbable comebacks. Their narratives aren't simply inspirational tales of perseverance, but demonstrations of cosmic mechanics at work. They don't merely recover, they transform through cosmic fire, emerging renewed. For the Aries experiencing this power, failure doesn't diminish their sense of capability, but paradoxically enhances it. Each defeat becomes a forge rather than a burden. This explains the seemingly irrational confidence Aries often maintains, despite setbacks that would shatter the self-belief of other signs. The Phoenix recovery creates a compounding advantage over time. While others accumulate the psychological weight of their failures, and Aries converts these experiences into wisdom without carrying their emotional burden. This allows them to take risks that others would avoid due to past trauma, to remain psychologically agile, where others become rigid with fear. Together, these three powers, primal rage, battle intuition, and Phoenix recovery, form an integrated system that makes Aries uniquely formidable in challenging circumstances. The primal rage provides the raw power to face overwhelming odds. Battle intuition guides this power toward maximum effect by identifying critical vulnerabilities. And Phoenix recovery ensures that even when these advantages prove insufficient, the Aries emerges stronger from defeat, ready to re-engage with greater wisdom. This trinity explains why Aries individuals so often succeed in environments that break others. Startups, competitive sports, crisis management, revolutionary movements. These aren't merely compatible personality traits, but integrated cosmic powers that operate in concert, creating capability that exceeds the sum of its parts. Understanding this trinity provides crucial insight for both Aries individuals seeking to maximize their cosmic inheritance and those who work alongside them. For the Aries, conscious development of these interconnected powers, rather than treating them as separate traits, yields exponential rather than linear growth. For others, recognizing when an Aries has activated this trinity allows for strategic alignment rather than counterproductive resistance. As we transition to the next set of powers, the mind accelerators, we'll explore how Aries transcends not just physical and emotional limitations, but cognitive ones as well, accessing mental capabilities that seem to defy conventional understanding of human thought processes. The fourth reason, thought acceleration. When normal humans face crisis situations, their cognitive processes often deteriorate. Stress hormones flood the system. Blood diverts from the prefrontal cortex to support immediate fight or flight responses, and decision-making suffers. Yet in these same scenarios, an Aries often experiences something entirely different. a dramatic enhancement of mental processing that defies conventional neuroscience. This phenomenon, thought acceleration, represents one of the most significant cognitive advantages in the zodiac spectrum. During moments of extreme pressure, an Aries can process information, evaluate options, and make decisions at speeds that appear supernatural to outside observers. What would take others minutes of deliberation occurs for them in milliseconds, creating the impression of impossible intuitive leaps. The mechanism involves a unique interaction between the Aries brain and cosmic energy fields. Under specific stress conditions, their neural architecture temporarily reconfigures, establishing pathways that process information in parallel rather than sequentially. This mirrors quantum computing principles rather than traditional neural processing, allowing for exponential rather than linear thought progression. Historical accounts frequently reference this phenomenon without recognizing its astrological basis. Military leaders born under Aries who made battlefield decisions of impossible brilliance under chaotic conditions. Crisis responders who developed solutions in seconds that teams of experts would later confirm were optimal after hours of analysis. Business negotiators who processed complex offers and identified hidden implications instantaneously. The subjective experience for an Aries during thought acceleration is remarkable. They report time appearing to slow while their thoughts race ahead, evaluating dozens or even hundreds of possibilities in moments. This isn't merely the adrenaline-induced time dilation experienced during traumatic events, but a genuine acceleration of cognitive processing relative to external time. Most significant is that decisions made during thought acceleration typically prove superior to those made during normal cognitive states. The Aries doesn't sacrifice quality for speed, but somehow enhances both simultaneously. This contradicts established psychological principles about the trade-off between decision speed and accuracy, suggesting intervention from cosmic forces beyond conventional understanding. For the Aries who learns to intentionally trigger this state, rather than waiting for crisis to activate it, the competitive advantage becomes nearly insurmountable. They can outthink opponents not through superior knowledge or intelligence, but through processing speeds that create an effective intelligence differential, regardless of baseline capability. The fifth reason, chaos navigation. While thought acceleration operates under pressure, chaos navigation functions specifically in environments of maximum disorder, situations where patterns break down, where cause and effect become uncoupled, where the rules governing normal interactions cease to apply. These circumstances paralyze most individuals, triggering cognitive shutdown as the brain frantically searches for order it cannot find. For an Aries with activated chaos navigation, these same conditions produce the opposite effect: enhanced function, improved clarity, and a strange sense of comfort. Where others see only threatening disorder, they perceive emergent patterns too complex for conscious identification, but nonetheless accessible through their cosmic connection. This power stems from Aries' relationship with cosmic fire in its most primordial state. Before the ordered universe, there was chaos and fire, the original creative forces from which all structure emerged. As the first fire sign, Aries maintains a direct connection to this pre-order state, allowing them to function within it, while others become disoriented. The neurological expression appears as unique brain wave patterns during exposure to chaotic stimuli. While most humans show increased stress indicators and cognitive dissonance when processing random or contradictory information, Aries subjects often display harmonic brainwave patterns associated with enhanced cognition and creative insight. This explains why Aries individuals frequently emerge as leaders during crises when established hierarchies collapse. It's not merely courage or decisiveness, but a fundamental ability to process chaotic information effectively while others experience cognitive paralysis. They don't just function despite the chaos, they function better because of it, accessing creative solutions unavailable during ordered thinking. Historical crisis points reveal this pattern clearly. Examine major organizational collapses, natural disasters, or societal upheavals, and you'll consistently find Aries individuals who thrived rather than merely survived, who built new structures from the ruins while others remained frozen in response to disorder. This isn't opportunism, but cosmic alignment expressing through personality. For the Aries experiencing this power, chaotic environments produce a counterintuitive sense of clarity and purpose. While others feel anxiety and confusion in the face of unpredictability, they experience a strange homecoming, recognition of the creative potential hidden within disorder. This explains their often puzzling comfort with disruption and change, their willingness to initiate transformative processes that others resist. Most significantly, chaos navigation creates a profound competitive advantage in rapidly changing environments like emerging markets, technological disruption, or societal transformation. While others waste energy attempting to impose outdated order on new realities, the Aries navigates the chaotic transition state directly, identifying opportunities invisible to those requiring structure for function. The sixth reason, reality-bending willpower. The third power in this cognitive trinity represents perhaps the most mystical of all Aries abilities, the capacity to influence probability itself through sheer force of belief. Reality-bending willpower transcends conventional understanding of determination or positive thinking, entering the realm where consciousness directly interfaces with physical reality. This power manifests as statistically impossible outcomes that consistently align with the Aries' expectations when they maintain absolute conviction. Projects that succeed despite overwhelming odds against them, opportunities that materialize precisely when needed, resources that appear through unlikely coincidences at critical moments. These aren't random strokes of luck, but manifestations of cosmic mechanics responding to unwavering belief. The mechanism operates at the quantum level, where observation influences probability. Research into consciousness-influenced random event generators has demonstrated small but measurable effects of focused intention on quantum outcomes. In Aries, individuals, this effect appears magnified through their connection to Mars energy, the cosmic force of directed will. The historical record contains countless examples of Aries individuals who accomplished objectives that rational analysis declared impossible, businesses that succeeded despite market conditions that should have guaranteed failure, creative works completed under impossible deadlines or constraints, medical recoveries that defied prognosis. In each case, the common factor was unshakable conviction in the desired outcome, maintained despite all contrary evidence. What distinguishes reality-bending willpower from mere persistence is the pattern of external reality seemingly reorganizing to support the Aries objective. Resources appear from unexpected sources. Key individuals provide crucial assistance at perfect moments. Obstacles dissolve through coincidences too precisely timed to be random. The universe appears to conspire to manifest their vision, but only when their belief remains absolute. The neurological correlate appears in unique patterns of electrical activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, the brain region involved in expectation and prediction. In Aries, subjects maintaining unwavering belief despite contradictory evidence. This region shows unusual coherence patterns that resemble those observed in advanced meditators capable of influencing physical measures through consciousness alone. For the Aries experiencing this power, the subjective sensation is one of certainty beyond reason, a bone-deep knowing that transcends logical assessment of probability. This isn't delusion or denial, but connection to information beyond conventional sensing. They proceed as if success is inevitable, not from naivety, but from access to a higher perspective, where the path to manifestation is already visible. Most significant is the binary nature of this power's activation. It functions fully or not at all, depending on the presence of absolute conviction. Partial belief produces no effect. Doubt neutralizes the capability entirely. This explains the puzzling inconsistency many Aries experience. Extraordinary manifestation in some endeavors and normal results in others, correlated not with the objective difficulty, but with their subjective certainty. Together, these three powers, thought acceleration, chaos navigation, and reality-bending willpower, form an integrated cognitive system that transforms how an Aries processes and interacts with reality itself. Thought acceleration provides processing speed beyond normal human capacity. Chaos navigation allows function in conditions that paralyze conventional thinking. And reality-bending willpower enables direct influence on probability through unwavering conviction. This trinity explains why Aries individuals so often succeed in ventures that conventional analysis would declare doomed. They aren't simply working harder or thinking positively. They're operating with cognitive tools that transcend normal human limitations, accessing processing capabilities, pattern recognition, and manifestation mechanics that exist beyond the conventional understanding of mind. For the Aries seeking to maximize these abilities, the key lies in recognizing their interconnected nature. Thought acceleration provides the processing power to identify optimal paths. Chaos navigation allows comfortable function in the quantum probability soup, where reality bending operates. And reality bending willpower provides the manifestation mechanism to transform possibility into actuality. The seventh reason, temporal perception. Shift reality operates at a fixed temporal rate for most humans. Seconds tick by at the same pace regardless of circumstance. Yet throughout history, there have been accounts of individuals who seem to operate outside these constraints. Athletes making decisions too quickly for neural transmission. Warriors responding to threats before they fully manifest. Performers executing sequences with timing that defies human limitation. These aren't merely cases of exceptional talent, but evidence of a specific cosmic ability predominantly found in Aries individuals. Temporal perception. Shift represents a genuine alteration in how an Aries experiences the passage of time during high-stakes situations. Unlike the subjective time dilation that all humans might experience during adrenaline surges, this is a functional shift that creates actionable advantages. During activation, external reality appears to slow dramatically, while the Aries maintains normal cognitive and physical response rates, creating an effective differential between their processing speed and event progression. The mechanism involves a unique interaction between the Aries consciousness and the quantum substrate of reality. Modern physics acknowledges that time is not the absolute constant we intuitively experience. At quantum scales, temporal relationships become fluid, with particles demonstrating behaviors that challenge our understanding of sequential causality. An Aries with activated temporal perception shift temporarily accesses this quantum perspective of time through their Mars connection, perceiving reality from a vantage point partially outside conventional temporal constraints. Neurologically, this manifests as synchronized gamma wave patterns across brain regions that normally operate independently. These patterns closely resemble those observed in advanced meditators during states of pure awareness, where perception occurs without the normal processing lag of consciousness. For the Aries, however, this state activates spontaneously under competitive pressure, rather than requiring years of contemplative practice. The subjective experience is extraordinary. External motion appears to slow dramatically. A baseball approaching at 95 kph seems to float leisurely toward the plate. An opponent's attack unfolds in slow, predictable arcs. Complex situations develop with transparent clarity rather than overwhelming speed. Meanwhile, the Aries' own thoughts and movements continue at normal or even enhanced rates, creating an overwhelming advantage in any scenario where timing and reaction speed determine outcomes. This explains numerous documented cases of Aries individuals performing at levels that defy physiological explanation. Quarterbacks who consistently make decisions faster than neural transmission should allow. Fighters who counter attacks before they fully develop. Emergency responders who complete complex protocols in timeframes that experienced observers declare impossible. These aren't examples of statistical outliers, but manifestations of a specific cosmic ability expressing through physiology. Most significant is how this power compounds with training and experience. While an untrained Aries might access temporal perception shift only occasionally and unconsciously during extreme circumstances, those who recognize and develop this ability can trigger it intentionally with increasing reliability and duration. Elite Aries athletes who report entering the zone are often describing cultivated access to this temporal advantage rather than merely optimal psychological states. For competition, negotiation, crisis response, or any domain where split-second timing creates decisive advantages, an Aries with developed temporal perception shift operates with such overwhelming superiority that outcomes often appear predetermined to observers. They aren't merely better at these activities, they're experiencing them fundamentally differently, perceiving possibilities invisible to those bound by conventional temporal perception. The eighth reason, premonition flashes. While temporal perception shift alters how an Aries experiences the present moment, premonition flashes extend awareness into the immediate future, providing glimpses of events seconds or minutes before they unfold. These aren't vague feelings or educated guesses, but specific, detailed foreknowledge that arrives as instantaneous downloads of information, often accompanied by physiological signals like goosebumps, spine tingling, or sudden alertness. The mechanism operates through quantum entanglement principles rather than conventional causality. At quantum levels, particles demonstrate non-local correlation, what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance. Future states of a system affect past states through backwards causation in ways that challenge our linear understanding of time. Most humans remain entirely unaware of these subtle quantum effects, but Aries individuals, particularly during heightened states of awareness, can sometimes detect these temporal echoes flowing backward through probability waves. Neurologically, premonition flashes correlate with unusual activity in the anterior insular cortex, the brain region associated with predictive awareness and intuitive sensing. EEG readings of Aries subjects during documented premonition events show distinctive patterns that precede the conscious recognition of the information by several milliseconds, suggesting reception occurring below the threshold of awareness before being promoted to conscious recognition. The subjective experience manifests in several forms. Sometimes it arrives as a vivid mental image of an imminent event, seeing a car accident seconds before it happens, or visualizing a competitor's next move before they execute it. Other times, it emerges as a compelling urge to take specific action without logical justification, suddenly changing direction, making an unexpected decision, or saying something that only later proves critically important. Occasionally, it appears as a full-body knowing, a visceral certainty about an imminent occurrence that transcends rational analysis. Historical records contain countless documented cases of Aries individuals making decisions that later proved life-saving or opportunity-creating, based solely on these intuitive flashes. The entrepreneur who cancels a meeting minutes before a structural failure at the venue, the investor who liquidates positions just before an unpredictable market crash, the parent who checks on a child at precisely the moment intervention was critically needed. These aren't merely lucky coincidences, but examples of quantum temporal mechanics expressing through consciousness. What distinguishes premonition flashes from general intuition is their specificity and reliability. While intuition provides general guidance based on subconscious pattern recognition, premonitions deliver precise information about discrete future events without requiring prior pattern establishment. They represent genuine non-local awareness rather than merely accelerated processing of existing data. For the Aries who learns to recognize and trust these signals, rather than dismissing them as imagination or coincidence, they provide an extraordinary navigational system through life's uncertainties. Dangers are avoided before manifesting. Opportunities are seized at perfect moments. Decisions align with future developments that couldn't possibly have been predicted through conventional analysis. Most significant is how this ability interfaces with decision-making. An Aries with developed premonition flashes bases choices not just on present circumstances, but on direct awareness of imminent developments, creating a decision-making advantage that appears almost supernatural to observers, limited to conventional temporal awareness. They aren't merely making better decisions, they're including future data unavailable to others in their calculations. The ninth reason, power absorption. The third component of the temporal trinity addresses not perception of time, but how an Aries processes and integrates experience across it. Power absorption represents the ability to unconsciously identify, extract, and incorporate the most effective elements of others' capabilities after periods of intense interaction or competition, accelerating skill acquisition beyond normal learning curves. Unlike conventional learning that requires intentional practice and repetition, power absorption happens automatically at a subconscious level, following significant engagement with others possessing desirable capabilities. The Aries doesn't consciously study or mimic these abilities. They absorb them directly through a form of energetic resonance, integrating them into their own capability set through unconscious neural reconfiguration. The mechanism involves mirror neuron systems operating at heightened efficiency. While all humans possess mirror neurons that activate when observing others' actions, in Aries individuals, these systems demonstrate unusual plasticity and depth of encoding. Rather than merely recognizing observed actions, their neural architecture captures underlying patterns, strategies, and conceptual frameworks, transferring them directly into procedural memory without requiring conscious processing. This explains the puzzling developmental trajectories of many prominent Aries individuals, their ability to rapidly assimilate diverse skill sets after brief exposure, their tendency to emerge from competitive encounters, displaying capabilities previously demonstrated only by their opponents, their integration of seemingly contradictory approaches into coherent new methodologies. They aren't merely quick learners, but unconscious capability collectors, extracting and synthesizing excellence through direct energetic transfer. The subjective experience is subtle but distinctive. Following intense engagement with a highly skilled individual, the Aries notices themselves spontaneously implementing approaches or techniques they never consciously studied. They find themselves using phrases, gestures, or strategies characteristic of those they've engaged with deeply. Most tellingly, they demonstrate intuitive understanding of capabilities that normally require explicit instruction and practice, knowing how rather than merely what in domains where procedural knowledge typically develops only through extensive experience. Historical examples abound across domains. The Aries martial artist who displays techniques unique to an opponent after a single encounter. The executive who absorbs and implements the management philosophies of mentors without formal study. The artist who integrates stylistic elements from masters they've briefly engaged with. In each case, the transfer occurs through energetic resonance rather than conventional observation and practice. Most significant is how this power compounds over time. While others develop capability linearly through deliberate practice in specific domains, an Aries with activated power absorption becomes increasingly versatile through each significant encounter, integrating diverse capabilities into an ever-expanding repertoire. This creates not merely excellence, but adaptability, the ability to draw from an integrated library of absorbed capabilities depending on situational demands. Together, these three powers, temporal perception shift, premonition flashes, and power absorption, form a temporal advantage system that fundamentally alters how an Aries navigates reality. Temporal perception shift creates overwhelming advantages in present moment action through altered time perception. Premonition flashes provide advanced awareness of imminent developments, informing current decisions with future data, and power absorption accelerates capability development across time through direct energetic transfer, creating cumulative advantage through each significant interaction. This trinity explains why Aries individuals often demonstrate development trajectories that defy conventional learning models, rapidly acquiring diverse capabilities, making decisions with seemingly impossible foresight, and performing with timing advantages that create overwhelming superiority in competitive domains. They aren't merely talented or hardworking, but operating with a fundamentally different relationship to time itself, perceiving and utilizing temporal dimensions inaccessible to conventional awareness. The 10th reason, flame resonance. Throughout human history, there have been individuals who demonstrated inexplicable endurance, warriors who fought for days without rest, explorers who survived conditions that killed their companions, creators who maintained peak productivity through periods that would exhaust normal humans. While conventional explanation attributes these feats to exceptional physiology or willpower, the truth is far more fascinating. These cases often involve Aries individuals unconsciously tapping into cosmic energy sources through what ancient alchemists called flame resonance. Unlike the internal energy reserves that power normal human function, flame resonance establishes direct energetic connections to elemental fire that exists throughout the cosmos. This isn't metaphorical fire, but primal creative energy, the same force that powers stars and drives universal expansion. As the first fire sign of the zodiac, Aries possesses unique receptivity to this energy, allowing them to draw upon it when internal resources are depleted. The mechanism operates through quantum field interactions rather than conventional energy transfer. Modern physics acknowledges that empty space isn't truly empty, but filled with quantum fields containing enormous potential energy. Most humans remain entirely disconnected from these fields, but Aries individuals, particularly during states of extreme need or focused intention, can temporarily establish resonance with specific frequencies that correspond to cosmic fire energy, drawing sustenance directly from the quantum substrate of reality. Physiologically, this manifests as sudden activation of the body's energy production systems without corresponding fuel consumption. Mitochondria, the cellular powerhouses, show increased efficiency not explicable through normal biochemical processes. ATP production continues at peak levels despite depleted glycogen stores. Stress hormones that would normally indicate approaching system failure remain regulated despite prolonged exertion. These markers don't suggest enhanced endurance, but a fundamental shift in how the body accesses energy. The subjective experience is unmistakable. When normal fatigue should set in, the Aries instead experiences a second wind unlike conventional recovery, a sensation of being energized from outside rather than rallying internal resources. Many describe a warming sensation starting at the core and radiating outward, sometimes accompanied by subtle visual perception changes where the world appears slightly more luminous or vibrant. Most distinctively, they report a puzzling absence of the expected consequences following prolonged exertion, recovering quickly without the anticipated after effects of pushing beyond normal limits. Historical accounts frequently reference this phenomenon without recognizing its cosmic basis. Military records document Aries commanders who maintained alertness through days of continuous battle when others collapsed from exhaustion. Expedition journals note Aries explorers who continued functioning in conditions that incapacitated their companions. Creative histories mention Aries artists or innovators who maintained peak productivity through working periods that would cause severe burnout in normal humans. What distinguishes flame resonance from mere determination is the absence of typical physiological breakdown following prolonged exertion. The Aries doesn't merely push through fatigue through willpower, incurring the usual recovery debt, but accesses an alternative energy source that allows extended function without corresponding damage. This explains the puzzling longevity and sustained productivity many Aries individuals demonstrate across their lifespans, maintaining energy levels that defy conventional aging patterns. For the modern Aries who recognizes and cultivates this connection, rather than accessing it only during crisis, it provides extraordinary competitive advantage in any domain requiring sustained energy output: entrepreneurship, creative production, athletic performance, crisis management, or intensive caregiving. They can maintain peak function through periods that deplete others, creating cumulative advantage through consistent productivity rather than cycles of exhaustion and recovery. Most significant is how this ability compounds with age and experience. While conventional human energy patterns decline with aging, an Aries with developed flame resonance often demonstrates the opposite trajectory, increasing energy availability as their connection to cosmic fire strengthens through conscious cultivation. This explains the puzzling vitality many elder Aries exhibit, remaining dynamic and productive well beyond ages where others have downshifted dramatically. The 11th reason, contagious courage. While flame resonance primarily benefits the individual Aries, contagious courage represents something far more remarkable: the ability to transfer energy states to others through a form of emotional resonance that transcends conventional psychological influence. This isn't merely inspirational leadership or charismatic persuasion, but actual energetic transmission that elevates others' courage, determination, and capability beyond their normal limitations. The mechanism operates through quantum entanglement principles applied to consciousness fields. Modern consciousness research increasingly suggests that awareness isn't entirely contained within individual brains, but exists partially in shared fields that allow for non-local information transfer between minds. Aries individuals, particularly during states of heightened courage or determination, generate specific field patterns that entrain nearby consciousness systems through resonant coupling, temporarily elevating others to share their elevated emotional state. Neurologically, this manifests as synchronized brain activity patterns between the Aries and those in proximity. EEG studies of group dynamics during crisis situations reveal remarkable coherence developing between an Aries leader's neural patterns and those of group members, specifically in regions associated with courage, confidence, and decisive action. This coherence doesn't develop gradually through psychological influence, but establishes rapidly through direct field effects. The phenomenon explains countless historical accounts of improbable group achievements under Aries leadership. Military units performing beyond all reasonable expectation when led by an Aries commander. Crisis response teams maintaining function in overwhelming situations with an Aries coordinator. Performance ensembles transcending individual limitations when directed by an Aries conductor. These aren't merely cases of effective leadership, but energetic entrainment that temporarily elevates group capability beyond the sum of individual potentials. For those experiencing this influence, the subjective sensation is transformative. They report sudden dissolution of fear and doubt, replaced by clarity and determination they recognize as uncharacteristic. Most tellingly, they describe not merely being inspired by the Aries, but somehow sharing their internal state, knowing exactly what to do without instruction, feeling unexplainable confidence in situations that would normally trigger anxiety, accessing capabilities they didn't know they possessed. What distinguishes contagious courage from conventional leadership influence is its independence from communication. It operates without requiring inspirational speeches, clear direction, or even conscious intent from the Aries. The mere presence of an Aries in a fully activated courage state creates the effect through field resonance alone, explaining why many accomplished Aries leaders report their teams performing exceptionally, even in situations where formal communication was impossible. Most significant is how this power transforms group dynamics during crisis or challenge. While conventional groups fragment under pressure, as individual fear responses create cascading dysfunction, groups with an Aries demonstrating contagious courage experience the opposite. Progressive cohesion developing as shared courage creates coordinated function without requiring explicit organization. The group doesn't merely cooperate, but operates with a form of distributed consciousness, each individual somehow knowing their optimal role without central direction. For the Aries who learns to consciously cultivate and project this energy rather than emanating it only spontaneously during crisis, it provides extraordinary leadership capability across domains. They don't merely direct others effectively, but fundamentally transform their capability, elevating everyone in proximity to function closer to their potential, rather than being limited by their habitual constraints. The 12th reason, emotional armor. The final component of this elemental trinity addresses emotional resilience, specifically the ability to maintain optimal function during extreme emotional stress through instantaneous compartmentalization rather than suppression. Unlike the emotional dampening some signs practice or the rationalization others employ, emotional armor represents a unique neural architecture that allows an Aries to fully experience intense emotions without having cognitive or performance capabilities impaired by them. The mechanism involves specialized neural routing that processes emotional content through alternative pathways during high-pressure situations. While most humans experience emotions and cognitive function through integrated processing, with emotional states directly impacting cognitive capability, an Aries with activated emotional armor demonstrates remarkable separation between these systems. Intense emotions register fully in emotional centers, but don't propagate to executive function regions, allowing simultaneous emotional experience and optimal performance. Neurologically, this appears as unusual activity patterns in the anterior cingulate cortex, the brain region responsible for integrating emotional and cognitive processing. During situations that trigger overwhelming emotions in most humans, an Aries shows distinctive differential activation that effectively isolates emotional processing from performance systems without suppressing the emotions themselves. The emotions are fully experienced but containerized, preventing performance degradation without requiring unhealthy suppression. This explains the puzzling emotional capacity many Aries individuals demonstrate during crisis, their ability to feel deeply while functioning flawlessly. The parent who experiences terror when their child is endangered, yet performs perfect emergency response. The crisis responder who absorbs the full horror of a disaster scene, yet maintains optimal decision-making. The leader who feels the weight of responsibility for others' welfare, yet continues function without hesitation or doubt. These aren't cases of emotional coldness, but specialized emotional processing that allows full feeling without functional impairment. The subjective experience is distinctive and often puzzling to the Aries themselves. They feel emotions with full intensity, sometimes even greater sensitivity than others, yet simultaneously maintain clear thinking and optimal function as if the emotions were happening in a separate compartment of consciousness. Most tellingly, they report full emotional processing after the crisis passes, without the delayed emotional crashes or post-traumatic responses that often follow temporary suppression. The emotions aren't deferred or denied, but experienced in real time through alternative neural architecture that prevents performance impairment. What distinguishes emotional armor from unhealthy coping mechanisms is its after effects. Unlike suppression that creates delayed emotional backlash or rationalization that prevents proper emotional processing, this compartmentalization allows complete emotional integration without performance degradation during crucial moments. The Aries doesn't pay a psychological price later for function maintained during emotional stress, but experiences complete, healthy emotional processing without the usual performance processing trade-off. Most significant is how this ability preserves connection and empathy during crisis, while others often disconnect emotionally to maintain function, becoming temporarily cold or mechanical to prevent performance impairment. An Aries with developed emotional armor remains fully present emotionally while functioning optimally. This explains their unusual effectiveness in emotionally charged situations, where both technical performance and human connection are crucial. Healthcare, crisis counseling, high-stakes negotiation, or emergency response. Together, these three powers, flame resonance, contagious courage, and emotional armor, form an integrated system that fundamentally transforms how an Aries interfaces with energy, both personal and interpersonal. Flame resonance provides direct connection to cosmic energy sources beyond normal human access. Contagious courage allows transmission of elevated states to others through field effects that transcend conventional influence. And emotional armor enables simultaneous emotional experience and optimal function through specialized neural architecture that prevents performance degradation without requiring unhealthy suppression. This trinity explains why Aries individuals so often emerge as critical linchpins during challenging situations, maintaining function when others falter, elevating group capability beyond individual limitations, and preserving both performance and humanity in circumstances that typically force choosing between them. They aren't merely resilient or inspiring, but operating with fundamentally different energetic connections that transform not only their function, but the function of those around them. What you've just discovered represents knowledge that has been deliberately hidden from public understanding for centuries. The 12 dark powers of Aries aren't merely personality traits or psychological tendencies, but cosmic inheritances that fundamentally alter what's possible for those born under this sign. These aren't metaphorical abilities, but literal capabilities that explain the otherwise inexplicable achievements, recoveries, and influences that Aries individuals demonstrate throughout history and in your own life. The warrior trinity, primal rage, battle intuition, and phoenix recovery, reveals why Aries so often prevails in circumstances where defeat seems certain. This isn't mere determination, but access to primordial power sources, intuitive perception of weakness, and accelerated transformation of failure into advancement that creates compounding advantage over time. The mind accelerators, thought acceleration, chaos navigation, and reality-bending willpower explain their cognitive advantages that transcend conventional intelligence. These powers don't merely enhance normal thought, but fundamentally alter how an Aries processes information, navigates complexity, and influences probability through unwavering belief. The time manipulators, temporal perception shift, premonition flashes, and power absorption demonstrate their unique relationship with time itself. These aren't skills developed through practice, but alterations in how they experience temporal reality, gaining advantages through slowed perception, future glimpses, and accelerated capability acquisition. The elemental connectors, flame resonance, contagious courage, and emotional armor reveal their distinctive energetic interfaces with themselves and others. These powers create sustainable advantage through cosmic energy access, emotional state transmission, and specialized emotional processing that preserves both function and humanity. For Aries viewers, this knowledge provides a framework to understand experiences you've likely dismissed as coincidence, luck, or personal quirk. Those moments when you've accomplished what should have been impossible, when you've known things you couldn't possibly know, when you've recovered with inexplicable speed or maintained function under overwhelming pressure. These weren't anomalies, but expressions of your cosmic inheritance activating in response to necessity. For those with significant Aries individuals in your life, this explains behaviors and capabilities you've observed but couldn't rationalize. Their improbable successes, their puzzling intuitions, their remarkable recoveries, their inexplicable influence over group dynamics, all manifestations of specific cosmic mechanics rather than personality alone. The critical understanding isn't just that these powers exist, but that they can be deliberately developed rather than merely experienced spontaneously during crisis. An Aries who recognizes these capabilities and consciously cultivates them transforms from merely fortunate to genuinely formidable, accessing advantages that compound over time rather than appearing sporadically when circumstances trigger them. This is why we created Secret of the Zodiac, to reveal the cosmic mechanics deliberately obscured by mainstream astrology. The powers we've explored today for Aries represent just the beginning of what we're uncovering about each sign's hidden capabilities and cosmic inheritances. If you're ready to discover the full spectrum of hidden zodiac powers, not just for Aries but for every sign, you need to subscribe to Secret of the Zodiac right now. Hit the subscribe button and activate notifications to ensure you never miss our revelations. Each video unveils knowledge that transforms how you understand cosmic influence and human potential. Leave a comment below sharing which of these 12 powers you've personally witnessed in action, whether in yourself if you're an Aries, or in Aries individuals you've observed. Your experiences help validate and expand this knowledge for our entire community. The patterns in these comments consistently confirm what mainstream astrology tries to dismiss as coincidence or confirmation bias. If this information has provided value to you, please consider supporting our ongoing research through super thanks. The cosmic knowledge we're uncovering requires extensive investigation of historical records, cross-referencing across ancient texts, and documentation of contemporary manifestations. Work that becomes sustainable through your direct support. Your contributions through Super Thanks enable us to produce daily videos rather than weekly, expanding our revelations across all 12 signs more rapidly. Visit our channel page to explore our complete series on hidden zodiac powers, including our controversial revelations about Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer that have already transformed how thousands view these signs. Each sign possesses distinctive cosmic advantages, deliberately concealed from public understanding. Advantages we're systematically exposing through documented evidence rather than mystical speculation. The knowledge you've gained today represents just the surface of what's available when you fully embrace cosmic truths. Subscribe now to continue this journey of discovery, not merely about the stars, but about the hidden potential encoded within human consciousness through cosmic alignment. The universe has invested extraordinary capability within each sign. It's time you understood the full spectrum of what's possible.